From the studio of your mom's basement comes a podcast by two idiots in a revolving door of legends and has-beens from the oldest university in Texas. This is Purple, Gold, and Getting Old.
Usually good at bringing stuff back, but
oh my
I was
Lord!
Like,
oh my God! Oh hell!
What'd you do?
Oh my God! There was a nail I was playing with and fallen in my chair, and I just sat on it, and it went through my pants and into my butt. It really poked me good. Don't play with nails, kids.
Oh.
So we've got an interesting episode coming up because we talked to some interesting people all about an extreme Bible study eternity. I know you've got to edit it, but I'm going to be interested to see how the conversation comes out, because it was a wide-ranging convo that went a lot of different ways I wasn't expecting.
It was. Folks, if you've ever seen the movie Old School, this is our version of how we lived it when someone says we're starting fraternities. So with nothing further ado, here's Alpha Beta Ceta.
You were at Disney World, dude?
I was with my 3-year-old and wife.
Was it magical?
It was very magical. Yeah, I got a deal on it when COVID was still going on, and I took a gamble thinking, you know what? By the summer, it'll be back to normal, and I'll have gotten a cheaper Disney vacation.
It's magically expensive.
I it out in May, but then sure enough, right before we got there, they got rid of masks and stuff, and it was pretty much normal. So
nice. Yeah, we're going in October, but it's expensive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but also like you wait in lines, bro. Like you pay to wait in lines in the heat. In the heat.
Yeah. You're not out in the lines too long. You get inside for the real long ones with AC pretty quick.
At Six Flags, you're right. At Six Flags, you do just pay to stand in line all day. But at Disney, the way they work it out is they have fast passes and things like that you can work it out. Like not be in lines all day. Basically, you can kind of pick and choose your battles, which is nice.
So the fast pass, I assume that just costs more, right?
No, they give you 3 for free every day.
No way. So how do you get more than 3?
So they actually only give you 2. But if you do the first 2 early in the day, they give you another one.
I want to take one of those to like save one, use the other 2, and then like when you're at the airport about to come home, see if they'll use it for a TSA like pre-screen check.
I know plenty of people who would hustle that whole thing, just like take the whole family's fast tracks and start like selling them. You're like, hey, bro, I got a fast track, $10. What's good?
Dude, so I'm staying at the Wilderness Lodge, that's what it's called.
Oh, there you go.
It's a bunch of cabins and like you can do RVs, and I've got an RV now. So I was like, I'll take my camper. It'll be fun. We'll just stay in the camper. It'll be a lot of fun. It'd be like half price. So yeah, let's do that. And no, because there's those people in Florida that are literally just camping there all year long, charging people like Airbnb prices.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Texas should be the one going to the Pac-12, not Tech.
That's true.
So
what is Tech going to do? What? Because I know Baylor's
they're talking to the Pac-12. I would like to start a rumor here on the podcast that UMHB is headed to the Sun Belt or Conference USA. And those talks allegedly resumed last week.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'll be to the WAC.
The WAC. That'd be great.
Wait a minute.
I almost wore my alumni shirt, but I was like, I'm wearing the Blink-182 shirt. Screw it.
I had some other shirt on and like looked at the clock like 2 minutes before we were going to start this thing. I was like, I got to go throw something on. So I've got the Randy O'Rear, Murray Hardin Baylor shirt.
That's amazing.
I was wearing my work clothes, like a polo and slacks and stuff, but I was like, I got to get out of that.
Too classy, bro.
We have an intro to all these episodes, and so you've been introduced through that, but I want to take a moment to just kind of introduce y'all individually. We got Stu.
I literally don't know you, so yeah. I just need an introduction.
We got Stu and C-Rob here with us today, and they were the co-founders of Alpha Beta Ceta, definitely not a fraternity, but definitely is, back in 2006. And part of, there were several things that led me to do this podcast with Tyler when he pitched it to me. And I was like, I don't know if a podcast is a good idea for this. And then I was working on a book and I'm like, I don't know if anyone's going to read this. And I was playing bass at church and the worship leader went to school with us. And she said, you remember were you at school when like
Who's the worship leader?
those guys? It was Taylor Cow.
Oh yeah.
And she was like, "Do you remember when those guys started up a fraternity at one time?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I may have been in it." I thought, "Yep, this podcast needs to happen." So you guys were like on the short list of one of our first guys we wanted to reach out to for this.
Man. Oddly enough, we were not the only ones to try to start a fraternity. Actually, there were people that copied us afterwards and tried to do like a legit fraternity, and they got way more threatening letters and such from the school.
Well, let's just jump right into that. So I guess first, like before we get into the fraternity story, I'm just kind of take turns telling when you were at UMHB and what brought you to the school.
Well, I mentioned this a little bit before we started recording, but I was actually going to Midwestern State my first semester. It was in Wichita Falls. For people who don't know where that is, it's like maybe 7 hours from Houston. Not the coolest drive, even with the most baller playlists. Like you're bored by hour 3, right? So UMHB is only 3 hours from Houston. So I went to visit UMHB one weekend because girl I went to high school with went there, and she was cute, and there were a lot of other cute women. A lot of women. Apparently used to be an all women's school. That's what's up. And their soccer team was bad enough that I could actually make it. So I I walked on and stayed on the soccer team for a total of a month. And I was like, dude, screw this. I need to have a social life. So I quit, and here we are. That's pretty much it. Like after my first semester, I transferred to UMHB, and after welcome week, I started getting super involved in a bunch of stuff. I met Stu and the guys, and we just kind of like we just went ape with the whole like moving off campus stuff. Like it was immediate that we were different, as in like we weren't like super Christianese.
We just didn't speak that.
Bro, we were like drinking and we were raw with it. Like it was like this culture that we wanted to carry over into something that we could do off campus, outside of campus, that wasn't necessarily like an official part of UMHB. And that's kind of how Alpha Beta Ceta came into play, baby.
Oh man, so many memories just flooding back. Ironically enough, my very first day, my first moment at UMHB as a new student, the first dude I saw was C-Rob. Wow. Not a joke. I was moving in, so I didn't know. I was homeschooled, so I didn't know when you're supposed to come to school. They were like, hey, move-in date is this date. And that's like the earliest possible day you could possibly move in if you were in athletics, and I didn't know this. So I moved in to Getty's.
Yeah.
C-Rob and I were moving in together, and like I met Charlene, and like C-Rob, as I'm moving in, I'm like, oh, they seem nice, And I thought nothing of it, like, oh, he's gonna play soccer, he'll be busy or whatever. Just in passing, because we were both moving in at the same time, and then like spent like a week in my room alone with an angry roommate. What is happening? Like, this is weird. And then welcome week happened, and it was awesome. But no, I mean, I ended up at UMHB. I graduated supposed to graduate in 2008, graduated in 2009, took the victory lap, and my sister and cousins had gone to UMHB and they loved it, and I went to preview weekend, loved it. I was looking, as a homeschool kid, I was looking for something that close enough to home that I could drive home on a single tank of gas, but not so big that I'm a number and not a name, right? And so
you're from College Station, right? Or Brian?
No, I'm actually from, my family is from College Station now, and I live in College Station now, but I was originally from a really small town in East Texas called Grapeland, Texas.
Oh, okay.
I was like 1,500 people. I mean, it's tiny. And so I wasn't looking for something huge. And it's one of the reasons I didn't go to A&M. My parents really wanted me to go there. And so I went to UMHB. It was the right size. I liked that it was a Christian school, and liked the 3-to-1 ratio. And and it was great, man.
Selling point.
Had a good time, got involved, met C-Rob. I was one of the people that the first year, especially UMHB, there's a like a hard group of like people that stay on campus every weekend, and then there's all the people that leave. And so the people that stay,
The other
get
80%.
close, yeah, like the 90% that leave, right? The 10% that stay get really close, and so I got really close to C-Rob and all kinds of other great dudes I still keep in touch with, and so yeah, it's fun, man. We had a good time. I actually lived with C-Rob second semester freshman year.
Was that in the ghetto? Or I guess for our younger listeners, I don't know if they still call it this or not, but Getty's was called the ghetto.
Yeah.
And it delighted my heart to recently take a stroll around campus and see all the renovations and new things they've done.
Yeah.
And to take a peek and realize they have not touched the Getty's lobby.
That's appropriate, though. I love
It's
that.
so true, bro.
And it must always stay that way. I think they put a couple of potted plants maybe next to
They
the pool
still
table.
have community showers.
Dude.
COVID-19, they still got community showers, bro.
I think COVID started in Getty's.
It probably was.
Okay, Stuart, I owe you a sincere apology, bro. Not to get super serious right now, but when you would wake me up in the mornings and I would just bite your head off, I literally like didn't know that I had sleep. Dude, I have sleep apnea and I barely sleep. And so I would wake up like grouchy and I didn't know why. And I'm like, dude, it's because I'm not getting any sleep. I'm super like depressed and I was taking it out all on you. So anyway, long story short, I'm sorry.
I appreciate that. No, it just prepared me for marriage. No, my wife is sweet, but she.
By the way, you have to tell your wife hi for us. I don't think I've seen her since I graduated.
Angela. My wife is Angela. Used to be Hoganson, now Platt. She graduated in 08.
What?
Yeah.
She did the NSYNC dance routine at my crew nights group.
She did.
What?
She did the NSYNC, like it was like a mixture of all the different NSYNC dances.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So how long were y'all on campus before y'all decided you needed to start a fraternity?
God, we were probably a year. Freshman year was enough to where we were like, all right, let's start looking in Temple and other places to live. I know Jeremy Ray and Ryan and J Brock moved off campus, and I was incredibly jealous. So Danny, who's not here, I'm gonna keep making fun of him. Danny and I and Dustin and Casey got a house. That was the ABC house. Yeah, Dustin McCain
and Sam Shirley actually.
Oh snap! I forgot about.
I didn't know he lived there.
Yeah,
he moved in after Casey left. After Casey left, Sam moved in, and he and I
never there. It was weird.
Yeah, I was sharing a room with Danny first, and then once Casey graduated, Danny moved out of the room, and Sam moved into the room. And dude, it was a completely different vibe. Like those are two totally different people. You know how many different personalities I had to live with in college?
Bruh.
A lot.
Can relate.
But that being said, I think your best roommate was Ryan.
100%. And I was a jerk to that kid too, because he brought in a poster of a zebra, and I'm like, bro, you're gonna hang that up in our apartment? Like a zebra? Word?
The couch was so uncomfortable.
Dude, he got so mad at me, he left the room and didn't talk to me for like a day. It was so bad. I felt like a jerk, but it's a zebra, bro.
You were right. You were right to tell him the truth.
When keeping it real goes wrong.
Keeping it real. Gotta keep it real. You can't stop. It's a real
Hold
thing.
on, Garrett, I have a question for you, because it's been a while, obviously, and I went through a partying phase in my 20s. What do you remember about your first days of being in ABC? Like what do you remember about us approaching you? Because all I remember is that Danny and I went on campus in the quad and just set up shop, started approaching freshmen.
Oh, man, I love this story.
Coming out of the sports story, I was actually going to use that exact question as my segue for y'all. So Tyler kind of mentioned earlier, like what led y'all to go off campus and start a fraternity. Well, my experience was new freshman, and I was like, okay, I'm taking 17 hours because I didn't know how, hours worked, and I was stupid. And they're like, can you handle 17? I'm like, I'm a smart kid.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a 2.6 later. I realized I needed to take 15. So I was like, well, I've got time for one Bible study and one other, like SGA, student org.
Yeah.
And so when I signed up for couch crew stuff, I signed up to take the barrels to the stadium every week. And then I signed up for an SGA race. Then I walked over and there was this table of these guys saying, y'all pointed at me, you right here. And in my memory, and I could be wrong, I want to say Ryan Owendowski was standing there talking to y'all. And I don't know why. I've got a memory of him talking to y'all. And when it's he adds a layer of energy to any conversation. True. So it was kind of like, well, these guys are pointing at me and say, extreme Bible study, sign up. And I was like, okay, here's my Bible study. These guys are cool. And I put my name down.
God, that's great.
And so I'm going to hand off back to y'all and say what happened between moving off campus and getting to that table.
So I know what happened for me, right? So I worked. I had an after-school program, and I worked. I was either working for the city at Temple at this time, or I was just working with kids.
This Focus. We were working at
Focus.
Focus.
It was one of them, yeah. And so like I get a text message from C-Rob, and this is honestly, this is one of the things I miss the most about college. It's also one of the things that like is just my college experience. I got a text message from a friend. In this case, I got a text message from C-Rob. Hey man, meet me in the quad by Maybe Center. I was like, cool. I walk up, and he's like, we put up a booth. We're doing a fraternity. I was like, sweet, I'm in. Like, I don't know anything about this, but I'm excited. And let's do it. And like, God, it was so great, dude. Like, I was just
like, old school vibes.
Stu. That's the thing about Stu. He was always down, and we knew we could rely on Stu. I wouldn't have asked anybody else, honestly. And it was so fun. From the moment I moved off campus, we were in the ghetto. Moved off campus, decided to get the house with the homies. And it's all three of us, a bunch of dudes living in a house off campus. And it's like, okay, we're off campus now. We don't have the rules. We can actually have women over. We can start a bonfire in the back and burn stuff. Like, it was cool. And we would watch Family Guy all the time and Lost, and we would bond. And I'm like, this is cool, but like, I really wanted to like, thought I could mentor people and thought that it would be really cool if I were to start something called Alpha Beta Ceta, which isn't a thing. Like, there's no such thing as Ceta.
Honestly, if I was going to wear my shirt tonight, but I donated it a few years ago to there were these red shirts that had the ABC logo on the side, like papyrus.
I just found a picture with me in that shirt. Actually, I'm looking for a different picture, but
my first Facebook picture. If you go to my oldest Facebook picture, it's me in that shirt.
Oh my God. I can't look at the picture of me in that shirt. I'm too skinny, and I'm just like, I can never.
Oh yeah.
And part of this is on me. I messaged Jordan Jones a few weeks ago, and I forgot to follow up with him about being here. So that could be on me. But how did Danny and Jordan get into the mix?
So Danny, like I said, was my roommate at the time. I just like had this idea, and he was the person that was literally next to me to bounce ideas off of. I was like, dude, you know what we should do though? And he's like, what? I'm like, start a fraternity. He's like, yeah, let's do it. I'm in. Just like Stuart. Like, and that's how I knew that we had something going. If I could get Stuart and Danny involved, that's what's up. Jordan came in a little bit later. I was like, okay, we have these charismatic dudes, but am I the one to really lead a Bible study and know the word that well? No, I'm just here for energy. So we brought in Jordan. He can talk, and he's a Canadian, so he's nice by default. And it was this nice like juxtaposition of talking about Christ, but then also talking about like not masturbating and like duct taping your junk and stuff, like to stop from doing that.
Every time you do, God kills a kitten.
Oh yeah, I remember y'all saying that, dude. It was so.
You teach that, right, Tyler? You teach that in your yeah. That's scripture.
Imagine for a moment being a nerdy freshman kid who thought he just signed up for a run-of-the-mill Bible study. And
so not that though.
When C-Rob talks about being from Wichita Falls and being far away from there, okay, Wichita Falls is halfway to my hometown. Okay, so I am like 8 hours from home, and I'm like, okay, I need to find some people if I'm going to be here. So yeah, I get this message. It's like, all right, all you boys be at this address in Temple on whatever night, and get ready. And so all these dudes show up, and we sit in the living room, and everyone's just kind of talking. It's cool. And then it gets quiet, and Danny and C-Rob and Stu walk in with these big grins on their faces. And they're like, boys, I don't know what you thought you were signing up for, but this ain't just a Bible study. Welcome to Rush Week. And
I forgot about that, bro.
We get handed these
I
sheets of
forgot
paper.
about that.
The only
That's
reason I
awesome.
remember this is because I wrote it down for my book and it cracked me up when I started writing it again. But
remember that.
there was literally a thing that said ABC on it. And you had to practice your ABCs if you wanted to get in. So the first week's ABCs was A, appreciate a female, not in a weird way, but in a godly way. So just like hold the
Not
door
gonna
open
work
for a
that.
woman, go
Dude,
give her a
I
hug.
love that.
B was balloon a brother, literally. And so you had people barging into people's classes and just pelting them with water balloons. And Hardy were like trashing each other. So then C on the ABCs was climb to your highest potential, literally. And so I climbed to the top of Herd, where the sun for the solar system used to be,
Oh my God.
which was easy. They had the fire
Yes,
escape on the back. So I shimmied up.
Yeah, I've been up there.
We
Yeah.
had a kid, and I'll have to send this to him, a guy named Aaron Gossett, and he drove to Baylor and he climbed Pat Neff Hall and like went to the top of the dome and took a picture. He's like, "Is that good enough?" I'm like,
Is that good enough?
"Yeah." And
I
so,
was so impressed with that kid.
yeah.
That Gossett,
Proud.
dude. He-
Marshall Reeves. I think
No, quick
Marshall
second.
might have climbed Hardy.
Dude, Marshall was a good looking dude. I'm like, oh, we got this kid in, we're set. And then once Dave came into the mix, I'm like,
Was-
Dave is a cool drummer. Dave
was
Keel.
Chris Phillips
Oh
in
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Yeah, dude, Chris
Yeah.
was in it too.
yeah.
I forget about some of this stuff, but
Dude,
it was just
so-
like the coolest group of guys just hanging out,
I
doing
was-
life, man.
I was walking my kids. We're catching Pokemon Go, and I'm at
Mhm.
Marlin Park, and we're just walking along, and I see this dude. I'm like, freaking Greek god, motherfucker! Just walking down, like, I'm like, what the hell is this dude running with his shirt off? I'm like thinking in my head, like, I'm fat and old. He's probably my age. Like, it's Dave, and I'm like, what's up?
No way.
Because yeah, his in-laws live like across the street from like my neighborhood, and so he runs in my neighborhood, and I was like, "What's up, dude?"
I don't
Yeah,
remember what the second round of ABCs were that we had to complete, but I remember what happened to Marshall when he didn't wear his pledge pin on campus. We had to wear pledge pins.
Yes.
So y'all caught Marshall without his, and y'all pinned a paper plate to his chest, and he had to walk around with an ABC on it, and he had to wear it everywhere.
God,
Pretty
we
sure that was
hazed the
Danny.
crap out of y'all, dude. I
Oh.
remember when we had our first ABC party, I printed out hella flyers and I'm like, y'all have to hand out 50 of these or something ridiculous. And at the
Yeah, we
first
did.
hour, no one showed up. So me and Stuart went to Wingstop and got chicken, and we came back. The house is full. It's packed.
Full.
It's sweaty. People are dancing. No
There was
alcohol.
So
obviously.
many people there.
I will say this.
Can I get
The
a
most-
clarification real quick? When you say ABC party, I know you were
No,
out-
no.
Was this an ABC party?
No.
Okay.
Alpha, beta,
I was about to
Ceta.
say I don't know how anyone would do that without alcohol, because that's
Yeah, we won't get into the one we went to, but
there's no weed in that.
I will say the Alpha Beta. Oh yeah, you weren't there that night.
No, I was not.
Alpha Beta Ceta. If you wanted to see a stereotypical college rager, but with this enigma of not
There's
a
no
single
alcohol.
drop of alcohol being in sight, that was it.
Nah,
I never saw anything like that.
it was so
Ever
funny. It
again.
was a great night, and like C-Rob and I had worked so hard on the playlist to make sure that it wasn't
It was
stupid.
fire. It
And,
was
like,
fire.
and we're like, everybody's dancing, having a good time. It was so hot in the house.
So hot, dude.
Like
I
I
have
went
a picture from that.
outside. It's so hot. I'm
This
dying.
is actually that first Facebook picture of me is from
Yes,
that
dude.
party night.
It was so, but I just remember the party was fire, and it was kind of like we knew we were done at the party because we had already been threatened multiple times by the time we did the party.
It was
Yeah.
everyone knew about it. Like everyone the next week on campus talked about that. The people that weren't there heard about it. Like it was as if we had all gotten trashed or something.
Well, so the funny side of that story is, as soon as y'all left, we got trashed. I slept on the floor that night. Like,
Oh, dude.
shit. Like we had so much fun, right? And just danced and had a great time. We're like, hey, let's go. Like everybody else left. We're like, okay, well, all the kids are gone, right? So we didn't feel responsible for you guys anymore. Like, hey, let's get some beer. Like, I'm tired. And we just had some beer, and like I remember, like I just passed out on the floor, and Danny had put a cot out for somebody that was like a friend of his that was staying there. And so I woke up and there's just like beer cans everywhere and there's trash everywhere because of the party, the beer from us, but the trash from the party. And like I just was sleeping on the floor and I was like, who is this person next to me in a cot? Like, I don't know who this is. And it was some friend who had come in for the party. And like it was nuts, man.
Well,
I think
in the
Seahawks
middle of all
saved
this,
that.
y'all are still making this. So I don't want people to listen to me. Oh, they just said it was a Bible study. No, it was an extreme Bible study. And so on the side, you had to memorize a Bible verse, and they would give us this long passage we had to memorize. And if you couldn't recite your verse, Danny lined us all against the wall. If I had, and then he said, if you can say it, come back from the wall. So I was able to say it.
Sure
I left the wall.
Mm.
He walks in with this giant plastic baseball bat that says "The Spirit of Christmas"
Spirit
on
of Christmas.
it.
Yes.
And he beat the living crap out of everyone that didn't memorize the Bible verse.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, dude.
Okay,
Okay,
so-
Spirit of Christmas came out. Spirit of Christmas was part of scooter jousting. It was a part of Fish in a Barrel. It was a part of ABC. It was everywhere, man.
Marshall was a baseball player, and David Keel, and y'all handed it to them and said, "Give your best baseball
On
swing on these boys,"
purpose.
and just
We were
So-
already knew it was over by then. So is the timeline of this like you basically rush, you have one party and then the thing's done?
Yeah. So
the writing was on the wall, but we didn't end until
we didn't finish it. But
Yeah.
We actually lasted a good 2 semesters. My senior year got heavy. I wanted to get out of there. I was taking like 20 credits my last semesters, but they were art classes, so whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, by the time second semester came around, it started to fizzle out a little bit, which hurt my heart. But we had moved out of that house, so we had to do something on campus. But throughout all of that, we were able to do like community service. Like we visited some kids and helped out there. We did some camping. We went to Enchanted Rock. Like we did a lot of things.
The E-Rock
in this
trip was
small amount of time.
legit.
It was legit, man.
Yeah. So what I mean is, so early on and up to the party, right? We were saying we're going to be fraternity, right? And it's going to be a fraternity, but it's also a Bible study. And we had all the best intentions of like actually being a Bible study and like, you know, mentoring new kids. And because part of the problem was, and one of the things that me and C-Rob and Danny recognized was like, your first year at UMHB sucks. Like it's hard. And especially if you don't get connected, it's really hard.
Yeah.
And so it was really C-Rob's heart to be like, hey, let's take these kids on our wing. Let's do something. And so me and Dan are like, yeah, let's do it. That sounds fun. And so we did do the Bible study. All this stuff had like the best intention of like, let's make it fun, but let's make it a Bible study. We would take turns leading the Bible study about different things either we were dealing with or we were like learning about ourselves, or just things that like we wanted to talk about. And so we brought in like, you know, Jordan Jones to teach some because he was great, especially at teaching. And the rumor got around that we were starting a fraternity, and UMHB takes a hard line at fraternities and sororities. Like, you will be kicked out of school if you continue to do a fraternity. And so up to the party, we were like, yeah, it's going to be a fraternity Bible study, kind of like Bucks at A&M and at and Sam Houston, right?
At UT too.
Right. And so we're like, yeah, I'll be like Bucks. Well, that was our idea. And UMHB was like, yeah, no, you will not do that. And basically, like, we were told, like, if you continue, you'll be kicked out of school.
Wow.
It's like, okay, well, so here's the thing. And a lot of this had to do with Danny was really well connected to some of the leadership because he was in SGA and some of the stuff. A lot of people knew me, but like, I didn't have any pull. And so Danny was like, look, it's just a Bible study. It is not a fraternity at any way, shape, or form. We will stop calling ourselves a fraternity. We will just be a guys' Bible study. We promise. We're sorry. And they basically left us alone after that. We just couldn't say fraternity at that point. And so C-Rob, you know, kept going. I think the E-Rock trip was like probably the E-Rock trip, and then the community service Helping Hands Day was great because we got to do a lot of stuff. A lot of people got involved. we did a lot of cool stuff. But really it was kind of hit and miss on the Bible study. Some people came, some people didn't come. It kind of fell off a little bit after that. Came more of an actual Bible study with just guys we liked. But before that, it was like, nah,
It
it's a
was
fraternity, and you will be here or you're out.
Yeah.
And it was a lot more raw.
There were three things that are around the same time as the party that we haven't even touched on. One was to end pledge week. We played Running Man, and the starting point was not across campus.
Yes, we did.
It was Subway next to I-35.
Original OG.
And you had to, and y'all sent us through the neighborhood. Now, I don't. Some of the people that listen to this know me from the later part of my college experience. At that point, later on, I was kind of a trouble magnet, whether it was my fault or not. Stuff just happened. I want listeners to know I was a new, awkward, nerdy freshman, just looking for a place. So I'm still trying to just do what I'm told at this point. And what I'm told is to go sprint through this neighborhood with a bunch of guys and stay out of people's yards because they'll shoot you and their dogs will eat you.
Yes.
And so these guys were actually going to cut through some houses. And I'm like, y'all have fun. I'm going on my own. So they go right, I go left. And I'm thinking, what's the one place they're not going to look for us while we're trying to hide? Plain sight. So I just start walking down 6th and there's nobody. And then a car whips around. So I face dive into this warehouse parking lot right on the gravel. And y'all sped past me like twice. And so finally I get back up and I keep running. Well, the second time y'all come around, I dove under a car. And as I get out, I'm face to face with someone's dog. And I was like, oh no. And as I stand up, I'm about 5 feet away from this older Hispanic guy holding a liquor bottle glaring at me on his car. And I just go, howdy. And I run off, just sprint. And at this point, I'm like, I don't care if I get caught. I'm out of here. Dude. So I sprint behind the Cefco and dive behind the dumpster. And that's where the two of y'all C-Rob's car pulls in. Yeah. And y'all spotlighted me, and I was the only one y'all caught because the rest of them went through the yards. So we had this thing called the penalty pot, and y'all made us bring anything we could find, edible or not.
Everybody brought something.
Yeah, and it was disgusting. It was like the SpongeBob episode where his breath just travels across town. It smelled so bad, and Huckins, it was Huckins. Yeah. And I took a sip and almost threw up. And I got through about 3 or 4 sips, and Danny is screaming at everybody like, you pledges, help a brother out. And so they start gagging, and people are starting to throw up. So Danny, I remember he's like, can't be that bad, you wusses. And he grabs it and takes a huge gulp, and he just gags and drops the pot. And he's just like, nobody's drinking out of this. Man. So I went home that night, and my roommate the next day, he's like, what the hell did you eat? You smelled so bad. I was like, I don't know.
Running Man actually didn't start with us. That was something we had heard about, that they're like, oh yeah, used to, they did this every it was like a fun thing that people did. You dropped people off at the subway and then you had to get back to campus before you got caught. We're like, that's awesome, we should do that. And so we rolled around, and honestly, the funny thing is a lot of the hunters had nothing to do with ABC. They were just like, you're gonna hunt kids? Yeah,
do it.
Let's do this.
Do you remember the sprinting with the shopping cart relay y'all made us do through Walmart? And C-Rob had to talk to the manager.
We got kicked out of Walmart so many times, dude.
Yeah, it was a scavenger hunt. Yeah, we got kicked out of Walmart a lot, dude.
I got kicked out of Walmart a lot.
That's what happened. As a freshman, I used to play a game called "Let's Find the Most Creative Way to Get Kicked Out of Walmart." So,
dude, I've been kicked out of Walmart so many times. Actually, the weirdest time I got kicked out of Walmart, I was there at midnight, and it was the new Walmart. It just opened up, and I went to buy a bat, like the Spirit of Christmas, because I was going to use it for fishing a barrel, and I was like, "This will be fun." Daniel wants one of these, so I got it. It's like $2. Like, okay, no big deal. So I'm with Heather, and we're going through the line, right? And like I said, maybe the Walmart's been open a week, and I was like, okay, whatever. So I go through and I scan the thing, and I put my credit card in, and I sign the thing. And at this point, I was still signing like my signature, but the signature is so bad that you can't really see it. And the lady goes, I need to see your ID. And I was like, oh, okay. So I give her my ID. She looks at it. Your signature doesn't match your ID. I can't sell this to you. I was like, okay. I was like, can she buy it? No, you have to leave. It's like, what the hell just happened? It was so weird. So then for a year, I signed not my signature at Walmart for a whole year. I signed Yay Beer. I signed Mickey Mouse. I signed Donald Duck. I signed profanity. I didn't care. I was like, I'm not signing my signature. I must see what happens. Not once was my signature rejected from the bank or from the teller. Wow. I was like, what is this lady's problem? Like, what is going on? It was so weird. I was just like, I don't understand.
All I remember
vendetta was
for that night was the scavenger hunt. And there was one that nobody could get. Now, keep on. We started the night by there was one guy who didn't memorize his verse, so we put him against a car, and we lined up and we all took turns beating him with the bat. Yeah. And so we do that, and then we go into Walmart, and the one clue was a sheath for a sword that should be used only if honorable in the eyes of the Lord. And we're like, what? A sword? We're looking at a toy aisle. And finally, I just like, it's a condom. And so we're sprinting through Walmart screaming, it's a condom, with our cart and weaving through families like, sorry, we got to get a condom. And, just like running.
We need a condom.
And we sprint back. We get next to you, and there's this elderly man. I won't drop the name, but I remember he was tearing into C-Rob like, I will kick all of you out of here forever if you do this again. And that guy died later on. Like I was in Walmart and they had a big like memorial built to him. I was like, oh, that's the guy that almost threw us out like 10 years ago. But
it's okay. Yeah, we're a Bible study. It's fine.
It's an extreme Bible study. And the one other point, C-Rob, he kind of went there a minute ago. He's talking about the accountability stuff. I remember everyone had to get like an accountability partner, and if you cussed during the week, or if it was like in the presence of a woman, you cussed or something, y'all would wash the person's mouth out with soap and just like shove soap in their mouth at the next meeting. And then like,
I'm sure that was Danny.
Yeah, Danny did. Even
that was Danny's idea.
I don't remember whose idea it was that if you gave in to lust, you had to tape your organs.
That wasn't me.
That was me, and I feel bad about it, dude. We hazed the crap out of them.
So listen, I will say, I do apologize because the verse thing was definitely me, and I had memorized all those verses because I was homeschooled. I memerized half the Bible, so I was like, "You can't memorize it? You're a fool!" I was 10. Like,
no, but like honestly, y'all are troopers, man. Like I wouldn't have done that crap. It was just a dream come true to be able to do that because my little brother didn't take any of that crap from me. I'm like, well, I'll get my own little brothers.
I didn't have a little brother. Now I do, but I didn't at the time. And it's like,
but like your children, like you have kids, which is nuts to me. You're gonna see them grow up. Do you want them to join the fraternities, Stu?
A real fraternity or ABC?
Which one's more dangerous?
It's ABC. Heck yeah, dude. Real fraternity? Probably not. But
I had a younger friend get mad at me my 5th year because I used to always meet the new people.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't really care. I don't want to know them. I'm gone.
Dude, I was so angry. Like I was so angry. The difference between
yeah.
being like a 22, 21-year-old and an 18-year-old is vast.
Doing that also when the culture change hit the school and around like 09, 2010,
dude.
When the hipster wave came in, watching like it.
Hey now, you're speaking to the guy who wore Toms to the dance halls. So
that's respect though.
I'm the guy that was
really
told,
well. It was great.
I'm the guy that was told I made the school look unchristlike because of my boots and my truck. And I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out.
No, I'm just saying.
Was it that or yelling, rip their freaking head off at a football game?
It depends. I think the people that said that about the truck weren't at the football games.
We said way worse.
Dude,
the couch crew was legit.
Y'all should. And Tyler and I are probably going to do a whole series of this. Before we dive into the history of ABC further, I will say, like, the classes at the end that thought it was just the most morbidly horrifying thing they'd ever seen, it had actually watered
It was
down a
so
lot.
tame.
And it was, yeah.
Well,
It was
a
so
lot of
tame
it.
compared to what we used to do.
Yeah.
It was terrifying what we used to do.
What's your best sports
Hold
memory?
on, bro. I got you.
Dude.
I got you because C-Rob's in this too. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Oh Lord, I'm just gonna go ahead and say mine. I honestly thought it was so dope that anytime there was a touchdown, we were straight up doing like push-ups in front of the girls, just like
Yes,
strutting
dude.
our manlyhood, being like,
Yes, dude.
oh, we got 40 points now. All right, bet. And getting down and actually being able to like do the push-ups.
Yeah.
Dude, if I were to try doing like 20 push-ups now, I would
Nope.
give out. Like easy.
Nope.
I did the push-up thing on a game in which the score was 81-3 one time. And that was honestly like one of the most physically demanding things
I
I've
think
ever
there were
done.
only like
Because
2
between
games.
the push-ups,
Yeah.
I'm shaking a stinking like propane tank full of nuts
Yes,
and bolts.
dude.
And then I'm
Yes,
doing,
dude.
I did the math, like hundreds of push-ups by the end of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was
dude.
awesome.
I think I was like one game that I legit did all the push-ups, and I was like,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm in great shape, 18 years old, 19 years old. I'm like, okay,
Oh, we were in
I
great shape.
got this. Like, I'm gonna do it. And I remember by the end, I was just like, I just did 80 push-ups, and I gotta do it again.
One of our
We just scored.
C-Rob and Stu, like we would ABC, we'd meet up, we'd go to some of the games together. And that was back when
Yeah.
the band was not in the couch crew section yet. The band wouldn't have fit. You had to get there an
No.
hour early just to get a standing room thing in the couch crew. And we were there in that era. And you guys may remember, do y'all remember when the dad from Mississippi College had complained and Steve Theodore sent the email out saying, okay, be louder? And the dad was at the game and he flipped us all off, and Grant Hickman got everyone chanting, write a letter. You all remember that one?
No, but I love that.
So
I can't remember y'all were there or not. I remember it was that season where we were all there at the same time, but I didn't know if y'all were at that game.
I don't know if I was at
See,
that
I'm
game.
sad that I just missed that era when the administration themselves would ag the fans on.
Yes, dude. And we actually like we had at least 2 couches on the field. But the thing is, our rule was the whole reason behind the couch crew in the first place was that Howard Payne, or no, not Howard Payne, Hardin Simmons had a couch that they sat on.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh yeah, we have a couch crew too, but no one's allowed to sit on the couch because that's not being a fan. And it was, oh dude, it was.
You mean hardened sinners?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, and I'll get to my sports memory as well, but I worked with a girl from Hardin Simmons at my old job. And I used to be like, yeah, I mean, we're rivals with Hardin Simmons, whatever. I don't really care. Then I worked with that chick.
Yeah.
I hate that. I want them to lose every game now. Like, she was the worst.
It cracked
Yeah,
me up
last
though. Like
time-
all the other schools, when I talked to Howard Payne graduates or any other school, they're like, yeah, we weren't that into it because we weren't any good, except Hardin Simmons. We hated them. I'm like, man, everyone.
You know, last summer, I'm a youth pastor, so I took my kids to Camp Eagle, and one of the counselors there said he was an athlete at Hardin Simmons. I'm like, oh, and I didn't want to just start trying. He was a good kid, you know,
Yeah.
he's the counselor and all that. But I just go, so, you know, what's the rivalry like? And he goes, well, you know, y'all have us in football, but no offense, y'all are kind of trash in every other sport. And I was like, I don't know about that, but I guess I know the rivalry is still a thing.
Yeah. Actually, I only remember going to football games. I think I went to like 3 basketball games and like 1 soccer game because I was in it. And by in it, I mean on the bench. But like, dude, that's gnarly.
I went to probably one of the first things I did go to was a soccer game because C-Rob was playing. And I was like, okay, I'll go to a soccer game. And I remember sitting in the fans and like, you know, that meme of like, are we the bad guys? like I'm sitting in the stands and our fans are brutal.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is soccer, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
The
whoa.
weirdest thing, and soccer
awesome.
actually got
It was
heated
awesome.
later again because of Hardin Simmons. But what blew my mind was as the trajectory was the school telling us to be nice, and the incoming freshmen my senior year were kind of like trying to water everything down and make it friendly. For some reason, the Harden Simmons game got worse. Like that would always escalate. It got worse and worse and worse. And like they had to put a traffic fence around the soccer field my senior year to keep the two fan bases apart. And it didn't work.
So C-Rob posted a picture, and it was my sports memory of UMHB. There's a group of us who got together, and we literally spelled Crusaders. Okay, like C-R-A, like we spelled it all out.
I hope you didn't spell it
Crusaders.
We spelled it correct. And the thing is, we went to the game, we had a great time, right? And we'd put the paint everywhere, put it in our hair, put it all over everywhere. Shirt, no shirts, just wearing it all. Well, we used acrylic paint. And I had to shave my legs, shave my armpit to get it off. And I had to have a friend, one of the girls, like bring over a comb and literally do this to my hair to get it off. Like crying, just like, oh my God, it hurts so bad. But yeah,
we
it was
like
awesome.
Different people, dude.
But
we look like totally different people. What the heck?
I know.
Nathan Berryman.
Half
So
the man I used to be.
one year, four guys spelled out UMHB, and then we did Joker faces because that movie had just come out. And Nathan Berryman got sunburned, and he had the B on his chest. For some reason, that B, every time he got sunburned, anytime for like 2 years after that, this B would come back. It was like the recurring B. And I just told him, I'm glad your last name's Berryman, or else it wouldn't make any sense.
Oh my God, that's awesome, dude. I'm looking at these pictures. We look like kids. All right. What are the other questions besides the sports one? I'm curious.
So favorite tradition or thing you were part of at UMHB, and one that you wish you had been more a part of.
Favorite tradition? I mean, Welcome Week is always fire, but do you remember the dances we'd have at that expo center?
Yeah, I went to like one.
Oh,
dude,
stop, bro.
Those are always fun. I don't know why. Those are fire. We would get down and sweaty at those. So that's probably some of my favorite memories, is just like dancing at not our hot house.
Yes. Those were awesome. We actually, me and Jeremy Williams, we were out this one dance, and they requested To the Window to the Wall to be played at the dance. And so we did. And this is before Steve Theodore was actually one of the, he was just like higher up, but he wasn't one of the presidents. Yeah. And he's on the dance floor going, us. And me and Jeremy Williams, we're just like,
I think you could find a YouTube video of him doing the Soulja Boy dance on YouTube.
Yeah.
So great, bro.
Yeah, I remember that.
I would love to see that. Stu, I'm gonna send you my Crusader Nights video because you're in it, obviously. But dude,
the one with,
it was so emotional. This is where C-Rob's like praying, and you hear Jeremy Williams' voice go, "He's sexy and romantic."
That's the one. And the fact that you remember that is amazing.
Y'all did like the Bad Boys for Life thing where you're like in a shootout for no reason.
I cocked the gun 20 times, and people are like, "You can't do that." I'm like, "It's a joke, bro." But no, I'm gonna send it to you, dude. It holds up.
Yeah, I knew who Jeremy Williams was, but he was so much older, I never really knew him. But he is the reason I came to UMHB, because they had him speak at a preview weekend. I'm like, I need to be at this place.
Is he still the Welcome Week MC? Because I swear, before my freshman year, and then after it,
or it was yeah, he did. That's right.
He's a singer now, man.
Stu, what was your favorite and one you wish you'd been in?
So I was really involved in every year I was in Passion, in the pageant play, the Passion of Christ, and then so the Easter play, and then I was also in
Wait, did we call it Passion of the Christ?
No, it was like it was Easter pageant, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that every year, and then I was in Stunt Night. I directed Stunt Night 3 years in a row. I really loved that.
That was fun.
I was in Concert Crew. I loved doing that with Daniel Couture, and even though I never got the shirt. And then the one thing I wanted to do, I really wanted to do, and no one ever invited me to do, was Crew Nights. Everyone, I always wanted to do it, and everyone was like, "Oh, you've never done it before?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." Been here for 5 years. No, I haven't.
No, ABC could have nominated you.
Right? No, we could not have. That would not have worked. But yeah, no, I always wanted to do crew nights. I never got to.
The thing I wish I would have done that I originally got selected to do, they asked me to do the homecoming court thing, right? And at that time I was going through some weird stuff, but I got paired up with and we kind of butted heads. So I dropped out and I was like, man, I really should have just like stayed in it. Like I know Tatendo won pretty much everything he was involved in, but I still kind of wish I would have just stayed and just stuck it out. But
I don't know, man.
Well, Ciro, I know you got to go soon, man. I would just for a minute, and I know this is unrelated to everything on here, but it's kind of a big deal. You went on to do stuff with MTV. Like, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. Like, tell me about that.
That's random. Wow, you have a good memory, dude. So like, after I graduated, had a lot of time on my hands. Was living with my mom in Pearland, which is like not a good look, but I love her very much. And being that I had a lot, Charlene's the best. Being that I had a lot of time on my hands, I would just like submit these auditions to like MTV. And at the time, TRL was still a thing, and so they would have me just hop on and introduce a video. But then I eventually like started having like a friendship relationship like with the producer, and I added her on Facebook, and she messaged me one day and she's like, hey, how would you like to interview the cast of Iron Man? I'm like, yes, please, like 100%. And so I get on and I'm standing by for like 2 or 3 hours, and finally she comes on in my ear and she's like, okay, here's some questions, we're about to go live, like, are you good? And I'm like, I'm as ready as I'll ever be, I guess. And first thing that happens is we go live, and Robert Downey Jr. is the first one I talk to, and I'm like, hey, like, how's everybody going? How's it going, dude? And he's like, hey, what's up, dude? He literally starts making fun of the way I talk. And I'm just like, dude, I can't show this to anyone. Like, Robert Downey Jr. is making fun of me. Like, this isn't a good look. But I got through the questions. I asked him one question. I asked Gwyneth Paltrow a question. And then I asked Jon Favreau, the director, a question. And then that was pretty much it. I didn't get to come up with any of my own questions. I got made fun of on live air, and I didn't show it to anyone. So like the people who actually saw it live are the only people who saw it. But I did that. And then a few years later here in Austin, I started networking and got to be in this movie called Computer Chess. It's on Amazon Prime. It's super sick. I'm in it for like 4 seconds, but just like met this girl who's an accountant for a bunch of big movies, and it was Danny Trejo and stuff. And she's like, she was in a film, like an independent film that I really loved, called Funny Haha. And it's by this mumblecore director. Anyway, long story short, got to be in that, got to do the TV thing, got to do the movie thing. And then the only real thing that I ever wanted to do was music. Like we were talking about this before. And so started a band and doing that thing now, like the music thing, recording some stuff next week in studio, gonna try submitting some stuff to KUTX and getting back on TV, like Fox here, like my homie has a band here and he got on Fox recently. So I'm trying to get in good with him to get back on TV. It's like, once you get a taste of it, you become like really,
it's like being like published.
Hungry. Almost hungry for it. I don't recommend it.
Hit me up when you get that out, the new music. Hit me up when you get it out. My other podcast is music based, so we can just dive into that. Yeah,
that'd be dope, man. For sure. That was a long. I just rambled. I'm sorry.
No,
but that's perfect, man.
Tyler, we have interviewed someone that interviewed Robert Downey Jr. So I guess it's like we've secondhand. We're connected to the MCU now. We are a part of the extended universe.
God, that was such a
get us on Disney Plus.
I'm gonna get a call tomorrow from Mickey Mouse saying you owe royalties for your podcast.
Hello, pal. You owe me lots of money.
Oh, that was really good, Stu.
Dude, I got kids, bro.
You and the Big 12 will be involved in a legal battle.
Yeah.
Can't say you're in good company.
Guys,
on.
this has been awesome. I love these podcasts because get to see people you haven't got to see in a while and remember stuff, or sometimes learn stuff that didn't know happened. So yeah, it was good to kind of revisit the hot and sweaty party at the Alpha Beta Zeta house.
So
And
sweaty.
if Danny was here, I was going to remind Danny, if he was here, that the day that y'all told us that we were going to have to probably shut it down, Danny's like, we got to be careful. The school's really watching. As he lights a fire in a pit like 3 feet from the apartment buildings. So
We lit a lot of fires. I don't know if you know this.
He would
We've
get
been
so
on
excited
top.
he'd throw up.
Yes,
Dude.
if Danny throws up, you are having the best night of your life. That's not
100%.
he doesn't throw up because he's drunk or anything. Like, he only throws up when he gets so excited about an idea that he throws up.
It's so awesome.
When he does that, it's epic. Scooter jousting happened because of that. Barrel of Monkeys happened because of that, which is not many people know about. It was hilarious.
I didn't even know that one.
It's so painful. ABC, so many things we did happen. Like, there were just so many different things we did with Danny that, like, there was one night we stacked all of the chairs from Revival tent. Like, that's a lot of chairs. We stacked them to the ceiling, all one row, and then took a picture and left. I got a call at 3 a.m. What are you doing? Nothing. It's 3 a.m. Bring your camera. Come into the quad. All right. Come to the quad. Click. Look at this giant stack of chairs. It's like, sweet.
Oh, the good days.
Tyler, you got anything else, man?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, even though I never knew y'all, was definitely never a part of ABC, I learned a lot today that, like, y'all's ABC really influenced my college experience, because I think y'all influenced Garrett so much. And you talked early on in the beginning about how you just, like, pointed at Garrett, was like, you come over here. Really, me and Garrett's relationship started off when he had a terrible idea and he saw a freshman who would do anything, and he walked through McLean and pointed at me and said, you, I've got a plan. How committed are you?
Dedicated are you?
And, like, so, and I was kind of that freshman for him that year that just kind of would, like, he'd point and say, hey, go do that. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
That terrible idea needs its own podcast episode at some point.
And even Running Man, I did it with my youth group. I introduced it to them for a lock-in we had downtown New Braunfels the other day, and they had a blast. So that stuff is still going on to the next generations. I love it.
Yeah. I love it. This has been awesome. Thank y'all so much for inviting us, doing this. This is dope. I can't wait to watch it back, edited.
Yeah, I've got some work to do.
A lot of editing.
Yeah,
but
that's how you know it's good.
Let's actually, me and Stu and a couple of other guys used to get together and rent like a lake house and just like go wild. We need to do that again, 100%. Maybe ABC edition.
ABC reunion. ABC reunion plus Tyler.
If we can find everybody.
The thing is, some of those guys are going to be real hard to find.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of y'all are dads now, so it's just going to be hard to coordinate schedules.
It's whatever,
It's whatever, but we'll make something happen. But yeah, like I said, I got to run, but I love you guys. Tyler, it's been real. It's nice meeting you, man.
Well, we end every episode singing the school song. So, no, I'm just kidding.
I want to hear the school song.
Well, to all the ABC brothers out there, I hope you're seeing this, and I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, it's fun times.
So, Tyler, now that we've listened to all that, can you imagine if the Friar Tuck brothers had started a fraternity and recruited a whole legion of guys to do our traditions?
See, I feel like we did, though. And that's what I really thought about a lot when I was in college. And and I mentioned it in the conversation with those guys about how I felt like so much of what they did echoed in what I did, because you brought, I felt like, a lot of that same energy. The couch crew and the tuck crew, it really felt like a fraternity. Like the stuff I had to do as a freshman trying to get in with the couch crew captains, that was kind of rushing in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And we may not have all lived there, but we all had kind of a house off campus that we were all at. Like, so in a lot of ways, I really do feel like we were in a fraternity, but it was just more organic, and less, official. But even there were official positions in leadership with the as captains. So yeah.
Well, even in the Tuck group, you used to call me the Godfather.
Exactly. I really don't know how much would have changed in our friend group. Because they talked about that being a frat, but in a lot of ways it was kind of a frat, but it was
It's honestly, I'm glad UMHB doesn't have official fraternities, because it enables you to make those experiences for yourself. And at a small school, sometimes I've seen where at a small school, people become so devoted to the fraternity or sorority that they just don't care about the school. So that's one thing UMHB's done right.
There's a couple things that people usually complain about UMHB not having fraternities or sororities. I think this is less so now because Belton really has grown, but how boring the town was, especially in our time. And to me, those were a couple things that actually made the place so much fun.
Yeah.
You were going to be one of the kids that would stay there on campus on the weekends, because you had to come up and be creative with the stuff you would do, whether that's starting an extreme Bible study / fraternity, or finding creative ways to get kicked out of Walmart or whatever, or Running Man. That was where the fun and the magic happened at UMHB for me. That
absolutely
wouldn't have been there if there were like official fraternities with like official parties and this and that, so it way cooler the way we did it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that will be an episode. I actually had somebody ask me the other day, are you getting the Friar Tuck boys on a podcast? I'm like,
oh yeah,
you can't not.
We'll have to introduce,
whether it's one at a time or all at one time, we'll
have to introduce the world to the Friar Tuck boys. Well, that was a good podcast.
Yes, sir.
And it is 9:44 p.m. and HSU still sucks.
And we're going to beat them at homecoming. We'll see y'all there.